This one is very important to me personally, and that is through the story of a rabbi from Yeshiva University who I knew very well. His name is Rabbi Yosef Blau. But Rabbi Blau, who held the position of the spiritual guidance counselor at Yeshiva University's Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary at REITs, held the position from 1977 till 1925. And he's recently made Aliyah. Of course, when I was there at Yeshiva University, I knew him very well. Now he's been become a vocal proponent of what he calls moral clarity in the contents of the Israeli-Palestinian relations. In August 25, just now, he spearheaded a letter signed by 80 Orthodox rabbis that condemned the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and spoke out against settler violence in the West Bank. Okay, so this letter that he's written by really non-Yeshiva University rabbis mostly, so he really couldn't find people in his own ilk. But in any case, he uses kind of the Yeshiva University banner, but the students there have not supported his stance. I know Rabbi Blau very well, and he was always, left-leaning. But I never thought that he would publicly endorse the jihadist anti-Israel narrative and give fodder to the anti-Semites. The anti-Semites will use this letter to prove their point that even this Orthodox rabbi, just like they use Niturei Karta, and this is nothing different. Rabbi Yosef Blau has provided, because he's gone public with these things, which are wrong, which are nothing but virtue signaling. He has provided fodder, I think inadvertently, but for a man like that, it's a kind of negligence that's inexcusable. He has provided fodder for the anti-Semites, and I want to play a little bit of some of his speaking, and we'll understand the psychology behind it. Okay, what does God ask of us?
My name is Rabbi Yosef Blau. Among other things, I have been, in the past, the president of the Zionist of America. I strongly identify as a religious Zionist to the point where I'm appearing at the conference on video because I've made Aliyah before the conference starts.
Rabbi Blau is made Aliyah, and I'm very happy about that. But when I was at Yeshiva University for many years, I never understood him to be a Zionist. I understood him to be pro-Israel at best, but not a Zionist. He never called for Aliyah and stuff like that. And it's true, he was the head of the RZA, but I never thought that the RZA really, in any practical way, pushed anything but pro-Israelism. And I distinguish, as my wife has taught me, I would distinguish the difference between pro-Israelism and Zionism. Zionism is when you really want to build the land, want to make Aliyah, and want to take very active steps. I don't remember that.
The major reason why I think it's critical that I participate is precisely because I am a religious Zionist, and religious Zionism in Israel has been captured by people whose right-wing philosophy is very different from the one that I think religious Zionism should have.
Just to remind you, Rabbi Blau has moved to Israel just in the past few months. He is now lecturing us on religious Zionism after being an American Jew for his whole entire career. But now he already knows what it is to be out here in these parts, and he's already has that much clarity that he's gained in the 2-3 months that he's been here, that he's now going to lecture us and the world about what religious Zionism should be. Okay.
The major religious Zionist,
and he's got every right to. He's got every right to. It's just I have a right to discount it as well.
Zionist thinkers that influenced me, and I think have influenced the entire religious Zionist community, of course, is Rav Kook and Rav Soloveitchik. Both of them, in different ways, have stressed the ethical component of Judaism. Since my Zionism stems from my Judaism, the nature of the system.
It's already virtue signaling language when you say that my Zionism stems from my Judaism. Now, on the one hand, I totally agree. I get it. But I would have said Zionism stems from Judaism, not my Zionism stems from my Judaism, because you know that the minute people talk about, I'm a Jew and my Zionism and this and that, then immediately they're coming from an attack posture. Why that is exactly, I'm not sure, but that is the lingo. That's the way it is. I would have said Zionism stems from Judaism, but he said no. My Zionism stems from my Judaism. Well, maybe maybe it's not about yours personally. It's more generally true. But here comes the kind of liberal progressive, diatribe. It comes from my Judaism, from my Zionism.
Society in Israel is a critical component. It's not merely, though certainly not to be dismissed, the ability to defend ourselves, but we're defending ourselves in order to create a society that reflects the fundamental Jewish values. In particular, in terms of the relationship between Jews and non-Jews, there are sources that give all kinds of different perspectives. I think that the key notions, which go back to biblical texts, are very clear. Going back to...
Right. If we go back to biblical texts, God says, never sign away the land of Israel. Don't give it away. Get rid of the altars of the other peoples there. Evict jihadists, haters that are sticks in your eyes. Get rid of your enemies from the land. And it says it over and over and over and over again. And yet he's going to find Rabbi Blau. Again, you have to know that I have a kind of friendship and a kind of respect for him. He's one of my old teachers. I never took a class with him, but I knew him, and we had debates and we had talks. And he was a sweet rabbi, an opinionated rabbi, a sweet rabbi. But at university days, that was fun because we were in the university setting. But to go public and to start preaching to us that the Torah calls us to be kind to our enemies, that is to A, confuse the flock, and B, to empower anti-Semites by calling us immoral.
Avraham Avinu, when Hashem says that I can't hold back and not tell Abraham that I'm planning on destroying Sodom, the explanation given in the pasuk is Manashe Yedate v'Sheyitzava as Banavu Beisav Achrav Lishmar Derech Hashem Lasot Tzedakah Umishpat. That which is the qualities that Avram represents and is going to transmit to the future Jewish generations is a commitment to tzedakah umishpat. Tzedakah is either charity or justice and law. And this is basic to Judaism.
His great teacher, Rabbi Blau's great teacher, was Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik. Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, the Rav in America, the Rav, he spoke about that the greatest moment that Abraham became changed from a private kind of tutor, teacher, having a position of ministry to a small ministry to having a global reach was when Abraham fought the four kings. And when he destroyed the four kings in a war, when he went to war with them, says Rav Soloveitchik, and destroyed them, that's when Abraham's name became big, says your teacher, Rabbi Blau. His name did not become big when he stood up for the Sodomites, which in the end God destroyed. His name became big when he destroyed the evil that came to the land and took his nephew, took hostages. Came Abraham and fought against those four kings, destroyed them, and says your teacher, Rav Soloveitchik the Rav, that's when Abraham became famous. Not through the wishy-washiness of trying to defend. And you know what? There was some beauty in Abraham talking to God and asking him to find 10 righteous people in the land. But in the end, there weren't 10 righteous people. Maybe, by the way, that's a lesson that Abraham had it wrong about Sodom and Gomorrah. Maybe. We can debate that. But your teacher told us that the greatest moment in Abraham's life when he became world famous was when he fought the jihadis of that time, when he destroyed the evil of that time. That's when Abraham became famous, not in this story.
So when we talk about having a Jewish state, we're talking about having a state that's going to reflect Jewish values. Well aware of
When he means Jewish values, he means diaspora values. He means that he's embarrassed about having Jewish power. He was going to say that in a second. He doesn't like Jewish power. He does not like Jewish strength. He wants Jewish forgiveness. He wants a, please forgive me, a kind of Christianized version, like a kind of like turn the other cheek type thing. That's what he wants to see Israel. He wants to see it as a weak but morally correct Jewish state, not a powerful one that destroys enemies and destroys evil, but rather what he perceives as like this kind of like moral, victim. Virtue signal, be the victim, be more moral than the others. I am more moral than the others, says Rabbi Blau. That's what virtue signaling is. It's like, I'm more moral. I am more moral because I'm against those other people who are barbarians. There are barbarians out there. They want violence. Not that they want to get rid of jihad, make sure that our women and children are safe, make sure that we hold on to the land of Israel, fulfill God's commandment of getting rid of the enemies of Israel, make sure that non-enemies of Israel become residents and have ger toshav and have a decent life in the land of Israel. No. What he wants is, he doesn't mind that we die. It's the moral goodness that he knows how to deal with. And of course, that is super diaspora, right? We're the Jewish people. We're a good people amongst you. You could trust us. We're good. We're not powerful. We're not too powerful. We don't want to be seen as too powerful. We're just the right amount of powerful. But we certainly are not like violent. We're just good. Any violence is scary to me, because he is not a sovereign. His psychology is not of a sovereign. His psychology is of a subject. He's a subject of the United States of America, and he's bringing that ghetto diaspora impulse into Israel. Let's keep going.
Complications and impracticality of basing a state on halacha when the majority of the people in the state are not observant Jews. However, we can agree on basic Jewish values. And much to my disappointment and shock, it's precisely the religious Zionist community in Israel that's associated with a Zionism that is obsessed with Jewish power. One party, that's what it calls itself, Jewish power. And while certainly part of Zionism is to eliminate the notion of Jews being powerless, but that doesn't mean we worship power.
Okay, so first thing is, the word obsessed is a master word. It's an awesome word. You just can say like, that guy Yishai, he's obsessed with his kids. You mean I really love my kids? No, you're obsessed. There's an obsession there. You're obsessed with Zionism. You're obsessed with Jewish defense. The word obsessed, you take anything that's positive, that somebody's passionate, excited about, loves to do, you turn it to obsession. Obsession's a bad thing. So that's just an easy way to take like I could say about Tucker Carlson, he's obsessed with the Jews, right? But I mean that he keeps talking about the Jews on every one of his shows. He's obsessed. But when we talk about Jewish power, it's not an obsession. It's the defense of our peoplehood after 2,000 years of persecution and culminating with the Holocaust. They're obsessed with Jewish power. I'm not obsessed with Jewish power. I'm obsessed with Jewish morality, which means that I turn the other cheek and let the bad guys do whatever, but I never talk about Jewish power. Jewish power is sovereignty in the land, not being a Joseph or even a Mordechai in the king's court, which is the kind of Judaism that Rabbi Blau is used to. He's used to a very performative act of being subservient and being a Jiminy Cricket. He sees himself as you know what I mean by Jiminy Cricket? Like a little moral compass for the world. That is the ultimate virtue signaling. I am the moral compass for the world. And he doesn't understand that moral compass means to destroy evil. As we say in the Psalms, Ohave Hashem sin'u ra. Lovers of God hate evil. But he doesn't know how to hate evil. He hasn't felt evil so much, living in the bosom of New York for all those years. He's just left now when exactly anti-Semitism is starting to strike at New York. And now he's reading us religious Zionists who want to see defense and are tired of giving away our land. He's reading us the moral riot act.
Well, Koach ki beruchi, Amar Hashem tzvakot.
He now quotes a verse, not in strength and not in power, but in my spirit, says Hashem God. Yes, not in power and not in strength when you give it to yourself. But God says to you in verses that we're reading right now, get rid of the people on the land. Never say, get rid of the enemies that live on your land, and never say that it's my strength that did it. Recognize that Hashem has given you strength. Of course, we have to do it in the spirit of God, but it doesn't mean you don't clean house. It doesn't mean that you don't get rid of terrorists. It doesn't mean that you empower terrorists to take over Gaza, because that's just plain stupid. There's nothing moral about letting immoral people run in the streets. There's nothing moral about being weak. Weakness is not morality. That's some kind of like some aspect of a Christian progressive notion that like the moral superiority comes from being a victim. Rabbi Blau thinks, and I can't stand the skewing of Torah verses. That part just drives me crazy. The Torah says in the book of Deuteronomy over and over again, get rid of your enemies. Don't sign away your land to them. Clean them out, get rid of their high places. And yes, it says, but don't don't believe that the power is all in your hands. Remember that I gave you the power. Of course. But to say that weakness is a morality, it's not a morality, sir. And that is not the Torah. That is a warped diaspora, weak Jew way of looking at morality. That is not Jewish morality. That is not Jewish morality. Jewish morality is not to allow terrorists to roam the streets, rape women, shoot pregnant women who are heading to the hospital. That is not morality, sir. That is immorality. And that is not the morality of Abraham, sir. The morality of Abraham is to fight the four kings and destroy them. And then people are like, that man's preaching makes sense because he knows to destroy evil. And not only is there a warping of biblical verses, not only is there virtue signaling and getting read the Moral Riot Act by a man who has not lived here and has not sent his children to the army, okay, and has not faced the fire here. But what really is so wrong here, Rabbi Blau, and again, I have respect for his Torah, respect for his person, and I know him personally, but this part is really irresponsible, and that is that you, with these statements, are providing fodder for the anti-Semites and the jihadists. They're all going to say, look, even your own Orthodox rabbi thinks that you're immoral and that you are obsessed with Jewish power. Obsessed with Jewish power. That's the title of your statements. Jews are obsessed with religious Zionists are obsessed with Jewish power. And of course, his letter goes on to parrot and mimic the words of the progressive left. There's starvation in Gaza when you know there's no starvation. You know that thing is a blood libel of our enemies. But the virtue signaling doesn't end there. It keeps going to say that the settler violence is the real problem and we should curtail settler violence. Please, Jewish people are living here on the edge. Our army has not done enough to defend us. Our people are tremendously law-abiding. And sometimes there is skirmishes, there is tensions because we're in the Middle East trying to fight back. Please give our young people their respect. Have you ever held on to a hilltop that belongs to the Jewish people and that the Philistines are taking it over? No, you have not, sir. And therefore, you have every right to your words, and I have every right to discount them with prejudice against the irresponsible words and incorrect, warped biblical understandings, warped understandings in what both Rav Soloveitchik and Rav Kook said, and of personal virtue signaling. Yes, sir, I have every right to disregard with prejudice your words on this topic and your letter. And indeed, your letter will not have any impact in any real political sense. It will only have an impact that the haters will promulgate it and use it against Israel. You have not bettered Israel through your words. You have not gotten people to accept your words, but you indeed have provided fodder for the Al Jazeeras, for the New York Times, and for others who want to promulgate a narrative that Israel's immoral. You have added to their arsenal. I'm sorry, sir, but your words are rejected by me, at least, and people can make their decision.